Good evening, everybody. Happy 2021. This is our first live tasting for Specialist Cellars. Tonight we're being joined by the incredible humans from Black Estate. Good evening, Sarah. So we're talking all things North Canterbury tonight. North Canterbury is a place that is very, very dear to my heart. I spent five and a half years living in Christchurch, which was just down the road, very happily before I moved to the UK, a very, very, very long time ago. So as we wait for the lovely folk from Black Estate to join our live feed, can everybody think about some kick-ass questions to ask Nicholas and Pen this evening? Nicholas and Pen have been at Black Estate for many, many years. It's a very family-owned business. They are, hang on, I'm just joining now so we can go over everything with them. Organic, biodynamic, natural bottles of beauty. And here they are, on a side.
Oh, hang on.
Don't make me go upside down. I know you're on the other side of the world. Morning.
That's true. We should be like that. Yeah.
Morning.
We're going like.
Good evening.
Morning.
How are
Good
you?
evening. Good.
Hang on.
How are you?
Great. We're good.
Good. How was the holiday?
Just woken up.
Holiday's amazing. Can't you tell? We're so refreshed.
Look at the tan.
Welcome. We've got a lovely fold of people joining us tonight. I see lots of people joining our live stream. So I was just explaining to the lovely folk who are starting to join that I want to see lots of questions being flown through to keep you on your toes.
Actually breaking up.
Okay, you just broke
can
up.
You hear me?
Is your Wi-Fi
No.
okay?
Well, I think the whole of
it just
our
broke
mini
up a
wipers
little.
on. Yeah, I think the whole of North Canterbury is watching the inauguration this morning. Can you hear? I know, but that'll be a drain on the Wi-Fi because we're a small community out here.
We have to share it.
Yeah, share it equally amongst the community. Right, so let's kick with a. Yeah, sorry for interrupting that. Let's kick off with a little bit of an introduction on North Canterbury. I was just saying I love North Canterbury because of obviously living there for the last 5 years before I moved over to London. It was an incredible place to spend some time. So I got first-hand experience of just how incredible the environment is down there, just how broad and the breadth of the wine region down there is incredible. I think it runs about 200 kilometres of the Eastern Cape. You're going to talk more about that on my behalf as you guys live and breathe it. So let's give the folk a lovely little introduction on North Canterbury and the wineries and the region from a weather and climate point of view.
Okay, well, we're very definitely cool climate, and we're really feeling that this season, which is super exciting. So we're, as you explained, we're on the east coast of the South Island, just an hour north of Christchurch. And growing up in Christchurch, we have this lovely sea breeze that comes in about midday that brings cloud, and we often refer to it's from the east direction, but we often refer to it as the beasterly. So it really cools the afternoon temperature, ruins plans for barbecues and beach visits. So you really have got to take your heat when you can get it in Christchurch. However, if you move an hour north where we are, you're sheltered from that easterly wind by the Teviotdale Ranges. And these, this is a big hill which has actually been pushed up from the ocean and is sheltering North Canterbury or Waipara Valley from the easterly wind. So you get a lovely, slightly warmer climate than Christchurch, warm enough to be able to ripen grapes. And in that valley, we have a range of soil types there, which I think is exciting for wine, in that we have in the south of the valley Glasnevin gravels, so very highly mineralized gravel soils that give wines with lovely pure flavors, great acidity, a lot of brightness. And we have producers there like Pegasus Bay, Terrace Edge, and Boneline, and they're all producing really lovely wines on the gravel soils. And then in the west of the valley, we have an area called Waikari, which we get a very high concentration of limestone soils. And we get, as you drive through from Waipara Village to Waikari Village, you go through this pass where there's limestone outcrops. One of them looks like a frog that you may recall. And
Frog Rock.
Frog Rock. And then another looks like a seal. And then you can see the profile of Elvis Presley. But it's just this limestone rock that has weathered with time. And you can actually, as you go through one of the escarpments, which we did on a train trip with our team this year for Christmas, and you can see these small shells deposited in the hills on the side of the limestone cliffs. Amazing area anyway. That's an area with a lot of pure limestone. We have producers like the Hermit Ram, has one vineyard there, Pyramid Valley, and Bell Hill. So that's the west side. And then where we are in the east of North Canterbury, we have hillside vineyards on clay and sometimes limestone soils. And this clay is giving us lovely texture and density. And most of the wines we'll be tasting today are actually from our vineyard, our home vineyard, which has a high level of clay, sedimentary clay. And some parts of Omahi have limestone as you move further up to the top of the slopes there. In this area, we have producers like Greystone, Muddy Water, Mountford, and Black Estate. So yeah, it's a really diverse area for soil types, and we're producing a lot of it's exciting because you can have the same climate and different producers taking their different take on the season and the place that they're at, gravel, limestone or clay. But it is a really challenging place to grow grapes. Weather-wise, we have frosts early in spring, which can disfigure the vines.
What was that?
That was going to be my next question. What happens with frost in North Canterbury?
Well, I used to love spring, but now it's pretty tricky time. However, it can be really fun staying up all night, walking around the vineyard with Steve and seeing the stars out, getting to know how helicopters work, and then lighting big bonfires, really. So
this guy helps out. That's Steve.
Hey, Steve. For those that don't know who are watching tonight, explain what the helicopters do, Nicholas.
So to fight frost, we're trying to mix the air. There's an inversion layer where you get strangely warm air rising and cool air stays on the bottom. So you want to mix that, and we're using a frost fan. But sometimes when it gets very cold and the frost fans can't keep up, we also use a local helicopter. And this year, our helicopter pilot has swapped helicopter flying for restaurant visits, which has been amazing.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? So
it's quite a few restaurant visits.
Yeah, it's a lot of restaurant visits.
Like a lifetime.
Yeah.
That brings us quite nicely into now talking about the history of Black Estate and who you are and how long you've been running and doing what you're doing. So tell us the Black Estate history. How did you two end up in that particular place? How did you find your place? And talk to us a little bit about your cellar door restaurant before we start talking about various vineyards.
Okay, shall I take that away? So Nicholas was a winemaker in the valley, and I used to be a lawyer, which is like another lifetime ago. I know, but I mean,
you're so much cooler.
I know. I just totally, I nailed it. So I got out of that one, but Nicholas was doing vintages overseas, and I used to work in Amsterdam as a lawyer, so I would meet him in the Northern Hemisphere every 6 months. And the kernel, like the moment we went and stayed in we lived in Tuscany at Isla Elena, where Nicholas was doing a vintage. And I didn't do much. I just like walked to the village and learned Italian and drank wine, but realized that was kind of a moment where we were just, I realized we could wanted to live rurally, and how good that life was, and nature and seeing this craft. That was the moment for me. You already knew that, really. But we didn't really know how to do that. But my parents, I grew up in pot plant nurseries. My dad's a 5th generation horticulturalist, so he's a plant guy. So he was pretty, and he'd sold his business with Mum and retired, and was pretty excited that I'd married a plant guy, which I hadn't really realised. It's funny how you return to type, because I became a lawyer just to get away from soil. Like, you know, I just wanted to be glamorous.
Love it.
I thought.
You were.
Yeah,
You were.
I had a suit.
Yeah. Wow.
Cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that was great. Dad actually came to us and was like, "Look, I think we're really interested in looking at some land and investing in wine," which was exciting. Also because he used to only ever buy bottles of wine under $10 a bottle. So we had to have that discussion about where we were on the page. But it's been an amazing journey. So amazing working with my parents and obviously your in-laws. That was 12 years ago. So we were looking for land. It took about 3 years to find Black Estate Home Vineyard.
That's where the cellar restaurant is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where our cellar. Nicholas was just region. So he just knew that it had to be with these clay and limestone soils, cool climate, and North Canterbury. So we looked at planting and asking farmers to subdivide off land. But we were driving. Well, Nicholas was often driving past Black Estate, which had been planted by Russell Black, and he was an ex-restaurateur from Christchurch, a real character. He didn't really have a well-known brand, but a lovely small vineyard, 8 hectares. Of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, which I think is in the lineup today. And so he planted those vines in '94 with his late wife Kamiko, and they both passed away now. But we went and saw him and went and had a cup of tea, and it was amazing looking out on the hill, because usually you drive through that part of the valley and don't really see the views or realize the extent of the mountains and this shape of the landscape. So having a cup of tea with Russell was great. Saw the train going past, and Dad was really driving the cellar door restaurant experience. We were more focused on the wine and just the terroir, and it just never looked back after that. Now I run a restaurant, and yeah.
You've had the home block for 12 years, did you say?
Yes, it's about that, right? Right?
Yeah, 13. So 2007, October 2007. And so we just started off with the 8 hectares of grapes.
Yeah.
There was a 4 hectare piece of land that was super exciting. That was bare. That was one of the reasons why we wanted to buy this property. And we just kept our day jobs and asked our brother-in-law to do all the work in the vineyard. So that's how we started.
Yeah, and our children, our first daughter, Sylvia, was born when we purchased the vineyard. So she used to just come up on the weekends and sleep in the car while we pruned. But
like
it was a real...
It should.
Yeah.
She's still recovering.
It's working out well as a teenager.
Yeah.
But amazing. Once we built the restaurant, that was when we all went full time. So we'd kept our day jobs for 6 years, really, while we just kept that vineyard going, and we converted it to organics, and it was just so sad. It's so amazing. And we'd run in sell wine in Christchurch first, and then sort of expand to Auckland and Wellington, and then find some importers in Australia or the UK, and it goes quite fast. 12 years. Did you always know that you were going to be organic and biodynamic, or was that something involved, or how did that concept happen for you both?
I think we were always going to go yes. So yes is the answer, because all the wines that inspired us were made that way. In fact, we were drawn to this type of farming by tasting wines from all around the world, and they might be from different regions and different varieties, but they had this common thread that drew us in. And when we looked at the wines and how they were made, it turned out that they were most of them were organic and then biodynamic. So biodynamic, organics is really, for us saying to our customers, this is what we're not doing. It's certified, so you can be confident that we haven't added things or used chemicals in our vineyards that we don't want to. And then biodynamics for us gives tools for working in the vineyard, bringing out the potential of the site and bringing all of us together to really focus on what we're doing. So focusing on the rhythms of the season, the property that we're working on, and the plants and the soil below. So it's a really satisfying way to grow, and it just brings in so many different levels or more depth and detail to the properties and the work we do. So we find that really rewarding.
And it is amazing because I remember as a great new person to the wine industry, standing on great organic and biodynamic vineyards in New Zealand and just noticing the difference, like the balance and the harmony and and abundance in those on that land. And I remember noticing that from an untrained eye, because I wasn't trained in wine, but it is amazing to see our vineyards having how much they've changed in the last 10 or 12 years. And I feel that, and I know I'm here all the time, like we live on one of them, but it's so rewarding. And you just feel like there's a rhythm that's naturally working on its own on this land now.
How do you think unfolded in the last 5 or 10 years for Canterbury specifically? Has there been a lot of risks with anything, or managed quite differently because of organics or biodynamics in the way that you grow?
Well, the challenge with any organic vineyard, I think, is maintaining vigor. So vigor is really important in vines. The idea of that vines should struggle is a little bit limited, really, because we're actually focusing on really healthy vines. And to get healthy vines, we need healthy soil. And that way they can be resilient to cope with the turbulence of the growing seasons. So each season, as you know, is not getting any less, we're just getting more and more turbulent seasons. So we want vines that can endure, bounce back from, say, if they're frosted, have the vigor to bounce back from that. If they've had 70-kilometer winds like we had yesterday, and they're getting battered around, their leaves are getting turned, we need good strength to be able to endure that. It's a tough time living in North Canterbury, so you need that strength.
But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right. Okay.
In one day, is it more true than North Canterbury? Is that correct?
Say that again.
The 4 seasons in one day isn't more true than that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, our friends in Central Otago did have snow on the ground yesterday, so we haven't had that excitement. But I would say with North Canterbury, we're getting, in spring you can get those frosts, which can be devigorating. You can get our wettest month of the year is December, which is when we have flowering. So that can limit yields. And then you get, on the east coast of New Zealand, you get very strong, dry, devigorating, the nor'wester that you'll know about, that can just be, it's just brutal. It's brutal on the people working in the vineyard and the plants. So those are the elements here. I mean, Waiheke and where we've got a wine region where they're sailing the America's Cup at the moment. That's a place where you get humidity that we don't get, and Gisborne would get that humidity as well. Central Otago, they might get snow every month of the year. So North Canterbury, it's really about the brutality of frost and wind and enduring that, I think.
But also, I mean, and so obviously we don't plan for large yields. It's a naturally low yielding region, which at the end of the day is where this beautiful intensity and quality comes from, and gorgeous tannin, and it's all part of that's why we're here, really. We like the flavour that comes from that.
North Canterbury. Hey, so North Canterbury's, I think, is one of the youngest wine growing regions of New Zealand, or the newest wine region of New Zealand. Would you be able to confirm that to me?
Did you say youngest?
Yes.
Did you say coolest?
Coolest or youngest?
And coolest.
Right. Okay.
Cool. It's cool. Yeah.
No, I would probably say that Waitaki in North Otago is probably the new kid on the block.
Okay.
We've had vines in North Canterbury since 1985, so we're by no means the oldest, but we have been here for a wee while. Pegasus Bay have had vineyards since the late 80s. In fact, our Netherwood vineyard, and we'll be trying a Pinot Noir from that, was planted in 1986. So, yeah, not the oldest, not the youngest.
But there has been quite a lovely, last 15 years, a lot of young energy.
Community, the next generation.
Yeah. And it's really exciting because I thought we were the young ones 10 years ago. And, and with Bell Hill and Pyramid Valley, they were a little bit before us, and we're in Greystone, and there was all this cool energy coming in. It was like, woo! But now there's some wonderful younger people making wine, a lot of natural wines in the valley. And
a show that we're going to ask you about your up and coming North Canterbury people. So we look forward to hearing about that. But we need to talk about some wine.
Yes, good point.
Chardonnay.
Chardonnay, yeah, great. Good way to start.
Cheers.
Good way to start. So
I'm just getting more coffee.
Most for everybody here. Us at Specialist Cellars, we expect to have these gorgeous wines exclusively in our portfolio. So you can only buy online, and when we're eventually allowed to open our hospitality businesses again, you'll be able to bring them at the restaurant and also Specialist Cellars. So let's talk first and foremost quickly on 2019 about limestone soils. Chardonnay.
Just before, can I just get this in case we forget, and we're going to talk about wine after this, but appreciate you're in lockdown and love watching your restaurant over there, and I know it's going to be flying soon, and you're awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, just want to get that out.
Yeah, hang in there.
We'll be there soon.
In there, everyone's doing a great job at locking themselves. We're in the depths of winter here. It's grey, it's miserable, it's dark. Healthy.
It'll be worth it. It'll be.
And
worth
you have wine. Anyway, take it away.
We always have wine.
Want to try some wine? So, the home Chardonnay 2019. So this is actually quite a rare wine for us this season. 2019 was a season where we had quite wet weather during flowering, which, as I mentioned, is November, December, and there's two really important times for grape growers, and the first one is the period of flowering where you get your yield, and that's for us November, December, and then the period or the month of harvest where you get your quality. So the wet weather meant that the Mendoza Chardonnay that we have, this is the clone of Chardonnay we have here, produced tiny berries, tiny bunches. The bunches were around about only 40 grams. So normally we have a bunch that would sit in your hand that would be 100 grams with 100 berries on it, and you might have 10 or 12 of those on a vine, so you're getting about 1.2 kilograms per vine. That's a really good ratio to give you one bottle of wine and give you lovely concentration. So in 2019 for this vineyard we had half that per vine. So I really feel, actually tasting this wine, that you've almost got two bottles in one. And what I mean by that is that it's got amazing concentration and density. So everything in this wine has been really turned up, in that we've got lovely intense aromas. It really draws you in, and they're very typical of our home vineyard. And then you've got this mid palate which is rich and dense, that really clearly shows that clay soil in that vineyard. It's a sedimentary clay. And with that vineyard, you have the top band of clay, which is very dark and fertile, very, very rich. And then when we plant the vines or dig down and see where the roots are growing, we notice a paler band of clay at about 50 centimeters. And this clay is unique in New Zealand, that it actually, when it gets dry, it shrinks and cracks. And you get these cracks as we walk through the vineyard, where the organic matter from the top can actually go down these cracks, and the vine roots as well, and go quite deep into the soil. So the soil is naturally opening up and closing up each year, which means you get this nice movement of organic matter. And then when you go down a little deeper, you come across seams of calcium carbonate. So it's where calcium carbonate has precipitated out, and this is sort of gives you lovely mineral characters that you see on the finish of this wine. So the clay is giving it a density, and that calcium carbonate is giving it a salty, beautiful mineral finish. That's really a hallmark, and always has been with the home Chardonnay, I think.
And when you say turned up, it's the season that's turned it up, but your winemaking is quite turned down, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
See that?
So in the winery, you know, our goal is really working through the season and getting lovely produce that's really clean, and we can bring it into the winery. And like any good restaurant or chef, you know, when you get great produce, you don't want to mess with it. You just want to show it and present it so people can see how full of character it is.
Purity with this. I mean, I think I've watched this at home grow and kind of change and become more complete, balanced over the last few years, but it's just amazing purity to it. I absolutely adore it. So keep doing it, and I hope that your yields get up a little bit more. Have double the concentration and complexity. A few more the world wouldn't go astray.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
A few more what?
I think I didn't quite hear you, but I presume you were asking for some more bottles.
Yeah.
I'll tell my mum to stop drinking it.
Yeah. No. I think, yeah, we're really excited that you've got some of this wine, because we know that you've been working with the Chardonnay and doing a great job for us. So we really appreciate that, and it's nice to think that you know this wine and you're working with it. So thanks very much for that.
We love it, and I particularly love. Sorry, my battery just is telling me it's low, but it's all right. We've got North Canterbury Chardonnay, a style and a wine to watch on a global scale. North Canterbury is also overshadowed by Marlborough, Central Otago, and Martinborough. We struggle to see a lot of North Canterbury wines. So if any of you see or get your hands on North Canterbury Chardonnay up here, and do it, but make sure you get some black.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah,
there's not that much of it in North Canterbury, but it's balanced and beautiful.
Should we? Are we doing home and Netherwood? Should we just talk about those kind of side by side in the Netherwoods? No, we're doing. What Pinot are we doing?
Yeah. Shall we do home 2018?
Yeah.
And Netherwood 2017.
Perfect. Off you go.
Righty ho. So we have right next to the vines where those Chardonnay grow that we just looked at, Russell planted these vines in 1994 on the sedimentary clay vineyard. That is the home block. So if you come and visit our restaurant one day, you will drive past and look over these vines as you dine there. And this is a great comparison, actually, if you were to try these two wines side by side, in that they do grow meters apart from each other. So both of these vineyards are about 3.8 hectares each. They're both planted on their own roots, and this Pinot Noir shows the character of that sedimentary clay and then that calcium carbonate as well. So we have 3 vineyards, 3 sites. We look after 24 hectares in total. We have the home vineyard, which in total is 12 hectares, the Dam Steep vineyard, which in total is 7.5, and the Netherwood vineyard, which is 4.5 hectares. With the home vineyard, we really want to bring out in the 3 Pinots, or in this wine rather, the character of clay. So with Pinot Noir, we're thinking about clay giving wine a really soft and sensual character to the wine. The tannins on the wine initially can be quite present when we harvest the wine and ferment it, but with time in the barrel and then in bottle before we release it, we really see the tannins melt and soften, and it can be really satisfying to see the wine with some bottle age before we release it, and you get these tannins that really melt across the palate. And it's
the age before you release your wine?
We give each wine a year in bottle, so the wine will be in barrel. The wine is on skins for 28 days, so there's a month there, with that gentle extraction. So it's a long time on skins, but we're only extracting with hand and foot once a day, just gently extracting that. It's like brewing good coffee or making a really nice tea, that we just want to be quite gentle on that. And then 12 months in barrique, but with the barrels, they are all seasoned, so there's no new wood. We like what a barrel can give you with that softening of the tannin, but we're not looking for oak flavour. And then after a year in barrel, the wines are racked to tank, allowed to settle, and bottled unfined and unfiltered. So to answer your question, it then has 1 year in bottle before release, and this is where we see the wine really, really come together, integrate, and soften before we start to drink it.
Great. So what the other Pinot, are we tasting another Pinot next to this one, guys?
Yep. Well, so the other one that we have is our Netherwood wine. I'm not sure if you...
Jamie Good has just joined the show.
Who has?
Jamie Good.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Been a while.
So,
I hope you're well.
not we're home blockers. It's a short way. It's a completely separate site where home is.
Netherwood's 5 kilometres up the road from home. We're actually here now. This is where we live.
Yeah. We got kicked out of the home, and we had to move to Netherwood. So then I could be closer to the winery, which is great.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. So
relaxes all the time.
So relaxed.
Lying down most of the time. So
just looks out at the vines.
Yeah. All done. It's all done.
Yeah,
nothing
nothing
to do down there. Yeah.
So how different is Netherwood to home from a soil perspective and a vineyard perspective?
Yep. So it's the home block is very open, and you feel like you're part of the wine growing community, in that there's a valley of vines around you, and it's quite, epic and open. Netherwood is really tucked away in the foothills. Most people, when they drive up the road that leads to it, get a real surprise that it's even here, and it seems like a hidden gem in the foothills of the valley. So here we have a vineyard that was a Lucerne paddock. It was Russell Black's most productive Lucerne paddock. He met Daniel Schuster, and Daniel convinced him that it would be an amazing place to plant a small vineyard, which they did in 1986. And this vineyard has a mixture of sedimentary clay, and the clay has small white pebbles in it. It's a really interesting, rich clay soil, and then sandstone. So this sandstone, when you dig down, it's got amazing colors in it. As you dig deeper, it becomes redder, which may indicate a lot of iron in the soil. And the wines there have a amazing vitality and fragrance to them. This vineyard was established at a high density of 5,000 vines per hectare in 1986. It was the first hillside vineyard in North Canterbury, and it was established without irrigation. So it's been dry farmed since 1986, which is quite unique.
Amazing.
Do you want to just have a quick look at it?
Yeah, go on. Just
Keep talking.
there we go. There's Netherwood.
Can't open that door.
Ladies and
Can you
gents.
see it?
Oh, yes, we can. Just. Oh, beautiful. Just there we can. Amazing.
Right.
So, Nicholas, how do the two Pinots, from a flavour profile, based on the soils and the environment of the vineyards, how do they differ?
So the home block, as I mentioned, has this lovely soft and sensual character and tannins that melt. The Netherwood has got incredible fragrance that really draws you in. On the palate, you've still got lovely density from clay, but the finish is vibrant and long. The finish is very persistent and really stays with you for an extended time. The winemaking is slightly different in this wine, in that because the vines have more vine age, the clusters are very small, and you get great lignification of the stems. So we decided to include all the stems, and we ferment this wine 100% whole cluster. That way we maximize the whole berry character because we're not rupturing the berries early on, and you get this lovely vibrant aroma. But the stems also give you this lovely textural character on the mid palate, which is very kind of present in this wine, but it's got a lovely ripeness and lignification to it. So really complex, quite different. Still has an Omahi character in that you get lovely density and weight, but the Netherwood Vineyard has got this vibrant fragrance, which you see from year to year.
Love. We have a question here. Do you use the same clones in the two Pinots?
They're actually quite similar. Well, the home block, one clone, it's berries that bunches that can be quite big. So some years where we get good flowering, we need to remove the shoulders on them. In the Netherwood Vineyard, it's actually mass selection. So rather than taking a clone, it was cuttings taken from a vineyard called St. Helena, which was one of the first vineyards to produce drinkable or award-winning Pinot Noir in the South Island. And then that vineyard was...
That vineyard location.
That's in Belfast, which is a very prominent wine growing region that you will be familiar with, won't you, as you leave Christchurch just before the Waimak.
Close to the motorway.
Don't miss it.
Right. Got it.
Got it. So things moved north.
1986.
Yeah, well, actually, it was 1981 to 1984. They had people lining up for the St. Helena Pinot Noir release. It sold out in a month, apparently. So, you know, there's a lot of hype about that wine back then. Cult wine.
It was actually the wine that, because Danny Schuster made it, didn't it? And it was awarded and the first sign that the South Island could grow Pinot Noir.
Oh, fair.
So it got the whole thing going.
Yeah, it actually inspired a lot of people to plant Pinot Noir in the South Island. So the Netherwood vines were cuttings from that vineyard, and that vineyard, St. Helena, was cuttings from the Lincoln Research Vineyard. So a real mashup of plant material, and you can see that when you walk through the Netherwood Vineyard, that you know, a lot of diversity from vine to vine.
Pioneering.
We've got Dr. Jamie Goods asked a question. Was that the 1982 St. Helena that won golds?
Nicholas?
I don't want to put you wrong, Jamie, but it would be 82 or 83. It won something like a silver or gold medal at something like what is now the Air New Zealand wine show. Very prominent.
Prestigious.
He's asking, you worked with Danny, yes?
Yes, I worked with Danny from 2004 to 2009, and his focus was in the vineyard, and that's where he spent most of his time. It was a really great training to see how he operated. He also consulted to a lot of, and still does, vineyards around the world. So he had a real international perspective, which he shared with us. So that was a great experience working with him during that time.
Our final wine this evening, which is Franc. So is that what we're doing now?
Cabernet Franc, yes, indeed. Yep. So you have the 2018 Cabernet Franc. That's great.
We do.
This is a wine that we planted in a new vineyard. We planted a vineyard in front of the restaurant at the home block. And again, a reminder that the reason we purchased the home block was because there was this 4-hectare piece of land in the belly of the hill, which was unplanted. This meant that we could plant a vineyard the way we wanted to. So in 2011, we planted a hectare of Chardonnay, 2 hectares of Pinot Noir, some Chenin Blanc and Cabernet Franc. And we planted this at around 6,000 vines per hectare. And we sourced plant material from a nursery in Gisborne that gets plant material from France. So we knew that Chardonnay and Pinot Noir were proven varieties for North Canterbury, but we thought what other things would be interesting just to have a look at on this new planting. So we love to drink Chenin Blanc and Cabernet Franc, and we thought that those varieties could be a good match in North Canterbury's cool climate and may grow well on clay soils. And this block actually has got high iron content in it as well, and this is often really good for Cabernet Franc. So we planted just a small amount of Cabernet Franc in 2011. We didn't what did you say
Go
about
crazy.
the farm? Didn't go too crazy on it, but a little bit to see what we could do with it. I actually had some local Cabernet Franc growers saying, that was a bad move, mate, you should have pulled that out. But a few years down the track, we managed to get it ripe, which was, first, weren't sure if that would actually happen. But we are not looking for super ripe, rich Bordeaux style. We're looking for that Loire, fresh, bright, fragrant wine. So the first vintage of this was 2015. We decided from 2015, from the first vintage, to try and make a wine with absolutely no additives, and we've done that since then. So that means that, like all of our wines, there's no sulfur added at the juice stage, no acid added during the fermentation or maturation, and there's no added yeast to the wine. We use vineyard-derived yeast for all of them. But with our Pinot Noirs and Chardonnays and Riesling, we would then add, just before bottling, a little bit of sulfur, and we've been able to bring that right down, lower and lower each year. But with Cabernet Franc, Chenin Blanc, and our two sparkling pet nats, there's no sulfur added at all. So this is really exciting.
Natural wine.
Yeah, totally. So we've just gone the whole hog there with no additive. I'm still all of our to be looked at as classic. So despite having no additives in them, we want them to be strong classic wines that can be recognized by their variety all around the place. So Cabernet Franc has been a really pleasant surprise for us, and we really love the brightness and fragrance. It's really interesting working with a different tannin profile that Cabernet Franc gives, and it's just a really beautiful wine to contrast the Pinot Noirs that we grow and make.
Love this, and like I say, we only got 12 bottles, so there's only 4 bottles left. Special sellers, everybody.
Right.
To buy any of the Cabernet Franc, you have to do it probably tonight, because it'll be sold out after this tasting. So I love the fragrance that this wine offers, and it's just so bright and fragrant. It's absolutely divine. So I would suggest that you all jump on bottles as fast as you can.
Yeah, and 18's a beautiful vintage.
Yeah,
there's a real focus in that wine.
Yeah, it's interesting. We actually fermented this wine in a Tinaja, which is a Spanish amphora. So it's got a really added, vibrant, crisp character to it, which we really enjoy. And I love the way this wine, when you decant it or open it, how it does evolve over a few hours as well. It really opens up. So I'm glad you've got some bottles of this with you over in the UK.
Bought 3 of them.
Okay, right.
I had a feeling that might be the case.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up, but I've got a couple of Reader's Choice questions that we wanted to ask away, if that's okay. So appreciate that there's a lot going on, and you've achieved so much in the last 12 years, creating one of the most amazing cellar doors and restaurants in the whole of New Zealand. But what's next for Black State? Are you looking for any more extensions, any varietals, any new techniques, or are we just staying right now?
At the moment, we're really enjoying just running a vineyard that's not growing. Because over that time we bought 2 other vineyards and opened a restaurant, so that's been busy, and it's been nice just focusing on quality and tweaking and
attention.
Yeah, we'd love that.
Fair.
But yeah, we'll see. There'll be a new phase of we've got a little bit of land left. That's fair.
Yeah. So just to clarify, our vineyards are still growing. They are actually growing, but we really are just trying to build on their vine health, push what we can do with the cover cropping and diversity, get down the biodynamic path more and more. And this, we feel, is a really great challenge, because although we're really pleased with how the wines are evolving, we really believe there's a lot of potential to push on further with the wines. So that's kind of our exciting focus and project, and really just sharing that with people
the
through
world.
what we do in our salad door and visiting and overseas and beyond. So
And now
Because that is,
nobody can ever come to New Zealand ever again.
yeah, they'll be there, but yeah, you can taste it.
mm,
But it is amazing, like, because of it, that growing, that setting up phase and understanding the place, the terroir, each vineyard, the seasons, and it's just so satisfying to think we could spend a lifetime now just really bringing out the best. Like, that's the project, which is actually really lovely to be able to say and focus, because we're always doing that, but you're also doing 1,000 other things and having children at the same time.
Exactly.
And meeting the community and learning more about biodynamics, and we just feel like now we can really focus, and that's really exciting to see that quality.
Lovely. And the last question, reader's choice question, is, and an answer from each of you, North Canterbury winery to watch.
Oh, say that again, Mel. Sorry.
North Canterbury winery to watch.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to get his name right though. Well, our friend James Opie Gravy, Graves Opie, that's his nickname. He's just started a new brand, Brighter Later. And he's just started so strong out of the blocks. Beautiful, naturally made wines that have been released only in the last 4 months, and they're so pure and focused, great quality. He's really treating the fruit beautifully, but really natural touch as well. And that, I just think it's so exciting. He's about, how old would he be? 30 years old or something? Anyway, who cares about that? But he's a bit of a character. So that's my pick for newbies.
Great, Nicholas.
Yep, that's James's wines are lovely. There's been a new proprietor at Floating Mountain, Dancing Water, which is, can you remember?
Oh, Liam.
Liam's wines.
Oh, yeah, Lily.
Yeah.
I think he sells his wines in
the UK.
In the UK with Franco Wine Bar, etc. He's making a lot of skin contact wines.
Awesome.
Yep.
Really
and also
North Canterbury.
Yeah, and we've got a young upstart who is working in our vineyard, and he sourced some Pinot Noir from a very local organic vineyard called Netherwood, and he also got some Riesling from the Omahi area as well, and he just bottled those wines, which he makes in our cellar a couple of weeks ago, so I think they're going to be really beautiful wines as well.
At Will Bowman on Instagram. Or is it William Bowman? Anyway, he'll let everyone know when his brands he's about to label.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Exciting. Yeah.
So it's just great to see the conversation and the focus and excitement that there are with some of these small batches that are coming through, and just another layer to what's happening, which is really great. So there's a really
battery. There's a battery. Sorry.
Well, I'm out of battery too, so we're going to round it up. So thank you so much for taking some time and making yourselves get out of bed early to talk about your amazing vineyard, your amazing wines, and North Canterbury. Like I say, always been very close to my heart, and these wines in particular. So just remember, guys, 4 bottles of Cabernet left, but we've got a little bit of a chunk of Chardonnay and Pinots left as well. So hope to see everyone when we can eventually open our hospitality businesses again. But until then, we'll love you and leave you, Pen Nicholas. Hope to catch up with you.
You too, Mel. It's so nice to see your face, and thank you for what you're articulating. What's great, the quality coming out of New Zealand. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
And
Thanks
you're
so
just
much.
such a fun person. Thanks for being great.
And then you make my job easy.
Hang out, have a good time, and
Go
aside.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.